As Election Day looms, former President Donald Trump is encountering obstacles he likely hadn't anticipated. Empty stadiums, unflattering poll results, and a barrage of controversial comments have left him grappling for a new narrative. His campaign events, once known for drawing massive crowds and fervent supporters, are seeing noticeably lower turnout, with half-empty stadiums in North Carolina and Pennsylvania serving as a stark contrast to the enthusiasm he saw in his earlier campaigns. Meanwhile, national polls are sending jolts through Trump's campaign as Vice President Kamala Harris reportedly leads in states traditionally considered safe Republican strongholds. But it's not just the polls that have shaken the campaign. Trump's own words have stirred controversy, alienating some voters. With anti-Latino remarks at a Madison Square Garden rally and incendiary statements about hitting former First Lady Michelle Obama, Trump's rhetoric appears to be pushing away undecided voters and some of his core supporters. The sense of panic is becoming evident, and for Trump, a self-styled winner, the sight of dwindling crowds and damning statistics might just be his greatest challenge yet. This weekend, poll numbers delivered a severe blow to Trump's campaign, casting doubt on his ability to sway undecided voters. The renowned Seltzer poll from the Des Moines Register shows Vice President Kamala Harris with a 3-point lead over Trump in Iowa, a state he once held with relative ease. Crosstabs reveal a telling shift. Both white women and white men, previously strongholds of Republican support, are increasingly favoring Harris. This change reflects broader sentiments echoed in other polls, including one from Kansas, where Trump's lead has narrowed to within the margin of error. Trump's campaign struggles extend beyond Iowa. In Nevada, veteran pollster John Ralston predicts a Harris victory, and national data from the Marist and Fox News polls similarly show Harris in the lead. Among early voters, Harris has an impressive 14-point advantage, further indicating a shift in voter enthusiasm. These trends are unprecedented. Early voting turnout is surging, with Harris leading by significant margins in key demographics, including younger and Latino voters. For a campaign that thrives on projecting strength and dominance, the statistical setback presents a jarring reality. Once able to draw crowds that filled arenas, Trump now faces the frustration of underwhelming turnout. In Pennsylvania and North Carolina, photos reveal half-empty venues, a scenario unthinkable during his 2016 and 2020 campaigns. Even outside the stadiums, the overflow crowds his team once boasted about are now conspicuously absent. Coverage from local media outlets like the Philadelphia Inquirer and New York Times highlights how the lack of attendance underscores a broader decline in Trump's appeal. These attendance issues suggest that Trump's campaign message, heavily focused on retribution and grievances, may no longer resonate with some voters. Unlike Harris, who closes her campaign with a unifying message, Trump's tone remains combative. Analysts note that his emphasis on loyalty from his base and frequent disparagements of anyone perceived as a critic, combined with empty seats and stagnant enthusiasm, is a signal of an exhausted narrative that may be losing its edge. Trump's recent rally at Madison Square Garden sparked outrage across the Latino community. During this event, one of his speakers made derogatory comments about Puerto Ricans, calling the island garbage. In response, many Latino voters have condemned Trump, and the fallout has affected undecided voters in states like Nevada, where a significant Latino population is now rallying around Harris. According to the latest Univision poll, Harris holds an astounding 64% to 30% lead among Latino voters, a demographic that could prove pivotal in swing states. In addition, Trump's behavior has alienated voters within his core base. His references to Michelle Obama in North Carolina, where he implied he wanted to hit her back after perceived slights, have raised concerns about his ability to control his rhetoric. For voters exhausted by polarization and incendiary language, such remarks only serve to deepen their disapproval of his campaign. As political analyst Ron Filipkowski put it, Trump's tendency to ignite unnecessary controversy just days before the election borders on political self-sabotage. Perhaps most notably, Trump is losing support from within his own party. Key figures who once stood by his side, including former Vice President Mike Pence, former Attorney General Bill Barr, and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, have publicly distanced themselves, citing concerns about his fitness for office. Their absence sends a powerful message, especially to Republican and independent voters who may be undecided. Barr's recent interview highlighted Trump's reckless nature, stating that someone of his temperament is not fit to be president. Even some rank-and-file Republican voters are expressing dissatisfaction. In North Carolina, a former Trump supporter told CNN that he could no longer align himself with what the Republican Party had become under Trump's leadership. The shift from enthusiastic backing to outright rejection among once loyal voters exemplifies the internal divide within the GOP and signals a potential reconfiguration of the political landscape. The role of high-profile endorsements for Harris. While Trump faces diminishing support, Harris has received prominent endorsements from high-profile figures in the entertainment industry. Rapper Meek Mill, a longtime advocate for criminal justice reform, and Puerto Rican artist Fat Joe have openly endorsed Harris. At a Harris rally in Allentown, Fat Joe encouraged Latino pride and called out Trump's disparaging remarks against Puerto Ricans. These endorsements not only amplify Harris's appeal among younger and minority voters, but also offer a stark contrast to Trump's controversial endorsements and increasingly divisive rhetoric. These endorsements underscore a message of unity, inclusion, and respect, a message that resonates strongly among voters looking for stability and civility in political discourse. Harris's commitment to building a diverse coalition is proving to be one of the more effective strategies in capturing undecided and disaffected voters. As Donald Trump enters the final days of his campaign, the signs of panic are unmistakable. Empty venues, an increasingly isolated base, and a widening lead for Harris in battleground states paint a portrait of a campaign at odds with its own reality. Trump's rhetoric, once a magnet for passionate supporters, now seems to repel as many as it attracts. His dismissive remarks about the Latino community, erratic behavior, and tendency to alienate Republican leaders are leaving some voters questioning his ability to lead. For Harris, the numbers and the narrative appear to be on her side. With a message of inclusivity and a coalition of support from various demographics, she is poised to challenge Trump in unexpected states and solidify her appeal among early voters. The question now is whether Trump's last-minute efforts to rally his supporters will be enough to overcome the growing dissatisfaction evident in the polls and the empty seats at his rallies. In this defining election, the stakes could not be higher. The choice between a combative vision of the future and a promise of renewed unity has left voters grappling with the consequences of another 4 years of divisive rhetoric. Whether Trump can still galvanize his core supporters remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. The landscape of this election is shifting, and Trump's familiar playbook may no longer hold the same power it once did. The coming days will determine if the former president can reclaim his momentum or if the rise of a new coalition led by Harris will ultimately prevail.